Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Deep Six Podcast, coming to you from somewhere just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm your host, as always, Steven Spivak, joined today by my co-host, Daniel. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Oh, that was louder than I expected it to be. I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. And Matt.
Sorry if I was screaming over that intro. It's hard to hear
No,
yourself sometimes when the music's playing.
And then Matt is joining us once again via Skype. Matt, how are you?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Matt's on a permanent vacation.
To hell.
Nah, I'm out in the Mediterranean filming my new movie. And
What's it called?
I don't know. I just signed up for the paycheck.
Boo.
I had nothing really clever to add there. I didn't think you would ask me that question.
Why would you say you're filming a movie and then not be able to have a title for the movie that you're filming?
Because if I'm doing an interview for my new movie, you already know the title. Why would I talk about it?
We're not interviewing you for the movie.
You should interview me. It'd be more entertaining than what you talk about normally.
That's probably true. But yeah, here we are. What is this? Episode 14, 15?
No?
I should know, but I don't know.
I think we're past the point of where we have to say, this is episode number blah. I think it's okay at this point.
But here we
Stop
are.
counting like you expect it to fail.
No response to that. But yeah, here we are, the final episode of 2016 for the Deep Six Podcast.
Oh, thank fucking Christ.
What, Dan? You don't like the podcast, or you don't like the year?
No, just this year. This year has been just a year. I don't really have any other.
How it works.
I don't have any other way to describe
year
it.
has been a year.
I don't have any other way to describe it. It's just been,
this year has been a minute.
It's more like a fucking eternity. But yeah, by 2016, we won't fucking miss you. Rest in shit.
But yeah, it's just past the holiday season. You guys will be hearing this episode on the 30th. We're recording it the day before on the 29th. So why don't we recap our holiday? Who wants to go first?
I think Matt should go first.
Matt, how was your holiday?
I don't really have anything to say.
Of course you do. You're always just chock full of things in our recaps.
Well, right now, I'm not doing anything, as we've established. So there's not really anything going on for me. Christmas happened. I don't really celebrate holidays, so it doesn't really do anything for me. And Steve and I recorded with Kyle the first episode of Deep Sports. So that's really all I've been doing since the last episode.
Speaking of Deep Sports, for those of you listening to this who might not have seen that pop up in your feed, that is going to be a supplemental podcast to this show, featuring, of course, Mr. Matt Barnes and our newest member of the Deep Six family, Mr. Kyle Hahn.
And we'll hopefully get the man with the best sports opinions of the three, a.k.a. myself, on at some point or another.
Dan, you're going to be a guest. Don't worry.
I'm really mad that you guys ragged on D2. I just want you to know that.
Why? Was I wrong about what I had to say?
Because D2's fucking great. Any
They're
slander,
still a shitty team.
any slander against D2 is slander against my name and my family, and I will not stand for it.
I take no offense to it, so.
Because Steven doesn't give a shit about the Mighty Ducks.
It's not true. I love the first movie, but I agree
Name
with
three
Matt.
members of the team.
Shove it up your ass.
That's
Fulton Reed, Charlie Conway, and
Foggy Nelson.
Carp.
Foggy Nelson?
Carp. Connie Moreau.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, Matt, I knew you could.
Anyway, we're getting off topic here.
The question was for
topic.
a Steven, a Spivak of his.
We're getting off topic. But yeah, we got the Deep Sports Podcast, like I said, Matt Barnes, Kyle Hahn. Keep a lookout for that every other week, opposite of this show. And if that blows up enough, that will wind up on its own feed. So those of you who do listen to this show, who don't want to listen to that show, even though you should be listening to both,
or the other
don't
way
have
around.
to. Or the other way around, exactly. But so far, the feedback has looked good on that, Matt. At least on my side. What about on your side?
According to who?
I've taken some looks. I think that it did better than I thought it would. So I'm pretty happy.
What is better than we thought it would?
The number-wise, it's done better than I thought it would.
Is it doing better than our usual podcast? Should we just become a sports podcast and just say
it's about on track with what we normally do?
Cool?
Yeah.
But I would say that I think that we are probably touching a different base with both. So if we combine them and get everybody listening to both, that would be the ideal situation.
Yeah. Plus, I also went in and re-uploaded the audio because I found a way to give it its own standalone artwork. But I had to embed that into the actual file, so I had to re-upload it, so it reset the download count. But yeah, it's about on par with what we usually do. But yeah, back to
Matt. Did you get anything cool for Christmas?
the holidays.
Dan, I'm an adult, so usually when I want something, I go out and buy it. So normally
Doesn't
I don't
answer
get
the
many.
question.
I don't get many exciting things for Christmas. No, because usually when I want something, I just go out and buy it. So people have a tendency to give me money and stuff like that for Christmas. Although my mom is taking me and my sister to Europe for Christmas.
What?
To a Europe.
What?
Which Europe are they taking you to?
Did you get anything exciting for Christmas? No, my mom's just taking me and my sister to Europe. So,
We are
nothing
going
special.
to Ireland.
Ah.
I guess that makes sense with the last name Barnes.
When are you...
Does it really?
I don't know. You tell me, Mr. Barnes.
So when
And
are you heading to jolly old Ireland?
The end of February.
Cool. So we'll have to figure out how to do the podcast without you.
Skype us from Ireland.
Yeah, you should Skype into the podcast from Ireland.
Let me see what happens with my laptop for that trip.
Bring us back something cool so we can talk about it.
Yeah,
Because you always have terrible stories to tell. So bring us stories back from Ireland so that we can have a whole Irish-themed episode. We could even wait until St. Patrick's Day. If we
I don't
want
even
to.
know if it's necessarily that I have bad stories to tell. It's just that they don't come up on the podcast.
You never seem to have any stories to tell.
I have plenty of great stories. They just don't seem relevant sometimes to what we're talking about.
Anyway.
I can't comment on
that. Well then, that's great to hear, Matt. We'll look forward to hopefully hearing a decent story when
Thanks
you
for
do go
joining
to
us.
Ireland. But Dan, what about you? How was your holiday?
The holiday was
Did Santa bring you what you wanted? Crates of anxiety?
Well, thanks for bringing that up.
No, it's just a joke Matt and I made on the sports podcast. Nothing to anger you or anything. We're just
To anger me.
Trying
I'm
to make
so
I would think-
angry right now.
Dan would already know that because he was listening.
Yeah, Dan, did you listen to the Deep Sports
I listened
podcast?
I listened to part of it.
That's
Thank
not
you.
good enough.
Thank you. I listened to part of it. By the way, people that I know that listen to our podcast normally were very upset that I was not a part of the Deep Sports podcast.
Well,
So just the cough, get me on some future episodes, cough.
Well, see, if you listen to the whole show, me and Steve did talk about you, did we not, on the show?
we did.
I told you I didn't get a chance to listen to the whole thing.
And if you-
I apologized
And if
for
you
that.
listen to the show also, you would realize that even though I am there and I am a part of it, I'm only there in a producer role and make
He's there in spirit.
snarky comments. I don't actually partake in the episodes.
Yes, Steve.
Because
does
Steve
not
doesn't know
actually
shit
pretty
about
much actively-
sports.
Yeah, he doesn't actively participate in deep sports. He's more there to disagree with me when I say something he actually does care about.
He's more of an...
Like he did when I talked about baseball, which is the only thing he literally cared about at all on the podcast.
Did he just cry over Chase Utley for an hour?
No, he got mad at me for talking about the Hall of Fame and saying
I didn't
that
get mad at
PED
you.
era players should be in.
I agree with you,
I-
but let's not get into sports topics. We'll save that for another
Yeah,
day.
we'll talk about that on Deep Sports.
My Christmas was pretty solid, other than some personal stuff I've been going through. But I spent Christmas Eve night at my girlfriend's house. Her family does a big party at her place. Spent Christmas Day with my lovely co-host / brother. And
Thank you for the compliment.
it wasn't so much a compliment. It was more that you're a lovely co-host. Brother, not so much.
Lovely?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, and then we went to my one sister's house to open gifts with my youngest nephew. Then we went to my other sister's house to open all of their gifts that I didn't give them on Christmas Eve. Had a mimosa or two. I think I only had one. A nice bagel. Came home and opened some gifts with my brother. So, and then I went to dinner at my girlfriend's family's house. So it was pretty good.
What did jolly old Santa bring you, Dan?
What did jolly old Santa? Well, for my girlfriend, I got a bunch of Flyer stuff: Flyers jacket, Flyer shirt, Flyers blanket, a beer glass, which was really cool, a bottle opener, which was also really cool. So that was awesome. From everybody else, I got.
Dan got the Alcoholics accessory pack.
Dan, why did you get so much Flyer stuff? Did you get drafted by the team?
I did actually. They asked me to play defense because Andrew McDonald is a tire fire. So we'll see how that goes. I make my debut. Do you hear that? I'm fucking Canadian all of a sudden. I make my debut shortly.
Why don't you tell them about the fellow that we met while we were at Chris and Mike's place?
Well, let me finish the gifts that I got.
Okay, yeah, might as well.
I got a Joel the Process Embiid shirt, which is now my favorite shirt that I own. Couple other Flyer shirts from my parents. I got Flyers tickets, so watch me make my debut on February 22nd against the Capitals. And then some concert tickets: Newfound Glory, Japan Droids, the Messingers, all great bands. Check them out if you don't listen to them. So just a lot of hockey and music. If I'm being honest, but Steven wanted me to bring up this story of this guy that we met. So my sister and my brother-in-law live in a really nice neighborhood. They're pretty well off. My brother-in-law has a really good job. And every year their one neighbor and his wife, no, not his wife, excuse me. I guess his girlfriend, because his wife unfortunately passed away, I think earlier this year or last year to a brain tumor. So I think it's not his wife, but either way, they ride around on like this ATV throughout the neighborhood, giving out spiced hot chocolate to the adults and regular hot chocolate to the kids. And it's like the coolest damn thing ever. And if you're wondering why they do that, well, all you have to do is listen to this man's accent and you'll immediately know why. He was like the most French Canadian person I've ever met in my life. Had a Montreal Canadiens Santa hat on. When I told him I'm going to Montreal and Ottawa in January, he was like incredibly excited for me and jealous.
He asked if he could come along, did he not?
He actually did ask if he could come to the Canadiens game I'm going to at the end of January. And it was so funny. He was telling us how his girlfriend or fiance's neighbor or whatever is an ex-Flyer who played on one of the Stanley Cup teams. His name is escaping me at the moment. Larry Goodenough. He played on the 1975 Flyer Stanley Cup team. And how like he just hangs out with all these old hockey players and stuff. It was really cool. So I wanted to be this man. I wanted to be his best friend. So yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Good times, great memories, yeah.
Thanks, Gold Cabana.
Yeah. Anyway.
Steve, what did you do for Christmas?
For Christmas Eve, went to sister and brother-in-law's house, where typically is where everyone winds up on Christmas Eve. We did...
everybody, just typically everybody.
Did the typical family shtick. Shared old stories, ate, did gifts for the kids, that kind of fun stuff.
Ate. What did you eat, Steve?
Ham, lasagna, salad. What else?
Can I just say shout out to my girlfriend's aunt? Aunt, whoever.
How do you spell that? O-N-T?
Listen, I have stories for another time on how to pronounce.
You sound
things.
like a seal.
I'm always joking with my girlfriend because she's from Delaware County and they have like weird pronunciations of things down there. So she hates me because I always make up these sentences of words that they specifically sound like they're being said by a Delco person, like hoagie or ocean or she's.
Maybe
know.
you could teach Jimmy Fallon how to say hoagie.
No, that's the only word he could say. But shout out to my girlfriend's aunt who made an amazing filet for Christmas dinner. It was very, very good.
Filet of what?
Filet of fish?
Like
McDonald's? Jesus.
Yes, she got us all filet of fishes for dinner. Yes,
I mean, that is pretty clutch.
A filet of what, though, Dan? A filet is a cut.
I think it was mignon. Filet mignon.
So it was steak. You had steak.
Yes, it was very good.
Okay.
It was very good.
Just say you had steak.
Filet mignon?
Filet McNuggets.
McNugget. That's the new sandwich from McDonald's. And this portion of the podcast is brought to you by McDonald's. We love
it's actually
to see
brought
you
to you by
smile.
Burger King, but
Is their slogan still "We love to see you smile"?
I don't know.
Or is it
No idea.
Who cares?
or is it still I'm loving it?
I love how we got to talking
Actually, I
about
don't think
my
it's been-
Christmas,
I don't
and then
think
we
it's
wound
been-
up on what the McDonald's
I
slogan
don't think
is.
it's been "We love to see you smile" since like at least the late '90s.
Oh, if you couldn't tell, we've got a dog here.
The dog just sneezed.
Um,
So go ahead, finish your Christmas story.
But
Steve.
yeah, we did the Christmas Eve thing, and then came home and went to bed awfully late, and then woke up Christmas morning, like you said. Went to one sister's house to deal with one child in Christmas morning, then the other sister's house to deal with 3 other kids Christmas morning, and then finally, like you said, came home and around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, finally got around to doing our Christmas morning. So yeah, and then Christmas night was spent at home with my mother, where we ordered Chinese food like Jewish people do on Christmas Day, even though we're not Jewish. But shout out to all my Jewish friends. Yeah, we got some god awful Chinese food, and that was my Christmas. But yeah. As far as gifts are concerned, what did we get here? Here, it's all sitting right next to me. I got a lovely Axe gift set, because we all know everybody's favorite scent is Axe.
Like a set of axes?
No, like
Can I
Axe
just
body
say-
wash and deodorant.
Medieval?
Yeah, actually.
Yes, it's giant axe. Actually,
No, it's like Axe body wash. It's awful.
I think the best gift we got was a $15 Wendy's gift card.
Which I've already used when we recorded the Deep Sports podcast.
Yeah, that's true. So Steve got a gift set of smell like the inside of an Uber.
Yep, and then I got some Funko Pops. I got the New Day 3-pack and Dr. Octopus from
Have you ever
Spider-Man.
heard of almost 26-year-old getting this many toys for Christmas?
Hey.
If you have, please send us a shout out. Because
Hey,
I've never
the
seen
only
so many
reason-
action figures under a tree for.
The only reason I got all these toys was just because my mom wanted to do something for us before she decided that we weren't going to get Christmas, because my mom has to deal with how many grandchildren?
685,952.
Oh no, between the 4 that we have on her side of the family.
4?
Yeah, there's 4.
No.
4.
5.
There you go.
5. Sorry, I forgot Tyler, because he's older now, so he's not usually around. He's dealing with his girlfriend.
He's
and
not
stuff for
he's
Christmas.
not around anymore.
No. He's not around as much, so he tends to fall in the back of my mind sometimes. And then she has what? My stepfather has like what?
The
3
limit does not
sons?
exist.
3 sons who have a total of like, I want to say there's what, like 12? Is it more than 12?
I don't know. Why
It's like
does
literally
that
like,
matter?
no, I'm just saying, like, my mom had originally decided that, she had too many other things to worry about, and that we weren't truly doing a family Christmas this year. But of course she came around and decided last minute that she wanted to at least give us some things to open. So she bought me a bunch of action figures that I've been looking for, just because they were on ridiculous sale on Walmart's website. So I got a bunch of Spider-Man action figures and some Funko Pops, and I'm okay with it.
Let's be
it's-
honest, you'd still ask for action figures anyway.
Hey,
Yes, he
I
would.
would. I also got
You're the most derpy mid-20-year-old that I know.
hey, action figures keep me from losing my fucking mind, along with my comic books and this fucking hellhole of a nightmare that I've been living since last September.
Surprisingly enough, tons of action figures, not one comic book. I don't get it.
Yeah, I bought myself some comic books for Christmas. So.
Yeah, that's right. Steve's an adult. He went out and bought his own comic books.
With money that was given to me for Christmas, like adults do. But yeah, that was basically the extent of my my Christmas. And then I still have apparently like a million gifts to open once I go back to Florida, because my lovely girlfriend Amanda decided to go crazy with Christmas gifts this year, but decided to keep them all in Florida, I guess as a ploy to get me to come back there. But
that's how she has to get her boyfriend back.
No. That's
I got you gifts.
That's not how. She just wants to have an actual Christmas, because the last 2 years we haven't had an actual Christmas together. So even though that probably won't happen until at least the beginning of February, it'll be nice to actually have some sort of a Christmas
in
together.
2017 actually falls in February this year.
Oh wow, does it?
So congratulations.
It's gonna wind up being a combination Christmas birthday celebration. I'm sure.
Christmas birthday.
Christmas birthday.
So Jesus.
So I am Jesus. Yes, I have finally revealed my secret to all of you. But that's the Christmas roundup, I guess. I don't know where else to go with it from
roundup.
So where do we go from there, guys? What do we talk about now?
I don't know. Some pretty important things have happened in the old Star Wars universe since last time we all got together.
Well, there was
like what?
There was a movie release.
I don't know. Some movie called Rogue One or some
One. Some
shit
about makeup.
Some shit. These guys go rogue. I don't know. I think
Rouge One set a really good foundation for the rest of the universe.
I think it was Joe Rogan's origin story. Rogue One.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Rogue One. Come on, a-hole.
That was a bad joke.
That was really bad.
Fuck all y'all. All right. I bet you the listeners will love it.
Nope.
Listeners at home, please tell us how much you liked or extremely disliked Daniel's joke.
Hey, you're leaning that in your favor.
I'm not doing such a thing. How dare you?
So we all saw the movie, right, Matt?
I did see the movie, Daniel.
Not together. We didn't. Me and Steven saw it together.
We saw it opening night.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I fell asleep during part of it because I was very tired.
So there's no way you could be equipped to actually give a review on the movie.
It was literally like 2 minutes of the movie. Let's all relax.
But you missed parts of the movie.
I saw 98.7% of the movie.
What if that 1.3% was like they showed you something that you really need to know?
First off,
like the origin of Snoke or something.
Oh yeah. I totally missed the origin of Snoke. You're so right. First off,
how would you know? You weren't there.
I was there. Thank you. Anywho,
he was asleep.
Anywho, first off, we just want to throw out a spoiler warning.
Yes.
In case you didn't know by now.
Of course, we're talking about a movie that's out. You should know by now that it's a spoiler warning.
So skip ahead about 25 minutes if you don't want to hear anything about Rogue One. Also,
did we mention spoiler warning?
If you've seen New Hope, you should know what happens anyway.
Also, I guess we should use this as a second to send our condolences to Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds' family. Considering we're going to be talking about Star Wars and the awful, awful Star Wars news that came out this week. So
it wasn't awful Star Wars news. It was just awful news, period.
You're right. But it's kind of tied into this a little bit, especially considering the really sort of cameo at the end of the movie, sort of just completely CGI'd thing that we'll, I guess, discuss at some point. But yeah, devastating news this week. So figured we just kind of give like a little shout out there. Not that
send a shout out, just
not a
send our condolences.
That's what I meant.
Dan's really bad at bringing sympathy.
I was trying to do something nice.
Yo, heard your mom died. Holla.
Wow.
Let me shout at you.
I think it's really funny because your Skype picture, Matt, looks like you just like being like, really, Dan? Really?
It's a really,
Your Skype picture
it's a
is
really
literally
fucking
just
stupid picture. If I'm not gonna,
really
I'm not
just
gonna
sending
lie.
that vibe. Anyway, Star Wars Rogue One.
Yes, Star Wars Rogue One.
Who wants to
Why don't
spearhead
you-
this discussion?
Why doesn't Matt start this?
Matt, you
discussion?
spearhead this discussion because you are a lot better.
I
at
don't know
doing
how
the
Matt.
review thing
I
than
don't know how
us.
Matt actually feels about the movie yet because we have yet to discuss it. Steven and I have clearly, but I don't actually know how Matt feels about it. So I kind of want to hear Matt's opinions on things, and then we'll kind of bounce off of that. I think that's a good way
Sure.
to do it.
Yeah, Matt, just take it and run with it.
Rogue One. Easily.
It was good, and that's my opinion.
No, it.
The movie,
I'm gonna say that it was probably-
really good, and
It was my favorite movie of the Star Wars series.
ever.
Tell that
Yeah, all
fucking
of
car
them.
to shut up.
Whoa!
Dude, that's not me. I can't do anything about that. That's not my car.
God, that's fucking annoying.
Wait. Rogue One's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I have to hear this. I highly enjoyed the film, but I have to hear this.
Well, I think it goes
Over the
back
fucking
to,
car alarm going off in the background.
It's not my car. I can't turn it off.
Professional
Dan.
podcast right here, you know?
Wait, how do you actually know it's not your car?
Because my car doesn't have an alarm. It just has keyless entry.
Sounds fake, but okay.
You've got me all off track because you keep telling me it's my car.
All right, so it was your favorite Star Wars movie. Go.
Yeah. Yeah. Why don't
Real
you believe
convincing
that?
discussion.
Why was it your favorite Star Wars movie? This shouldn't be
I think
this
this
hard.
goes back to what we talked about when we talked about Civil War. That I like movies that actually have stakes. So if you've seen New Hope, you know that there's stakes in this movie. Where, we all know what
Not
the power
fillet of
of the Death
fish?
Star is. Because we've seen it destroy entire planets.
Way to
So we know
no-sell
that
me,
if they-
asshole.
He's
What?
trying to explain Star Wars.
Sorry. I know
Forget
this
it.
is
You
really
guys
off
talk.
track. No, I know this is
No,
really
I
off
was
track.
listening. I
You
was
said
actually
there were
listening.
stakes in A New Hope, and I said not fillet of fish.
All right, so I'll go off of this. I kind of agree.
Thank you.
I kind of agree with what Matt was saying. I felt like knowing that there were big things at stake in this movie, you automatically felt invested into it, especially if you've seen A New Hope, and know what happens in the next movie and just how important these plans are that they have to get to the rebels. You have to you just know how important it all was, and I felt like knowing that going into the movie, not even watching the movie, just going in, you knew immediately that you were going to be drawn to this if you had a strong connection with the original Star Wars film. So that alone was something that really drew me into the movie, and I felt like they kind of got the idea across in this movie of just how important that was, and I think that was something because we had talked about this before, Steve and I, that we kind of wanted a darker Star Wars film from this because of how serious the topic actually was. And I felt like there were periods of time in this movie where it felt dark. It felt
And there were points where they were pretty much hunting down a child.
like the whole storm, the whole beach storming scene felt like it was, and I'm sure in a way it was sort of supposed to be like this. Felt like a callback to D-Day, when they stormed the beaches of Normandy in a way. Just like that, just how important that actually was to, the battle against the Empire. Like how, and I felt like that they did a great job getting that across and giving a real serious tone to that and the things that these people were trying to achieve. So in that regard, I really agree with Matt. What do you think, Steve? You haven't said much yet.
I liked it. I truly enjoyed it. The claim that it's the best Star Wars movie ever, no, I don't think so. Better than Empire, no, I don't think so. But it's up there. Like I said, I liked finally getting that look into the whole story of how the rebels got the plans to the Death Star and getting context to things that we basically had to imagine before this movie towards things that happened in A New Hope. And I liked the context that it gave to like the opening of A New Hope and finding out, things like the design flaw in the Death Star was intentional and all these things.
Nope, some fucker just fucked up.
Well, no, because for the longest time,
Oops. Who knew that a laser or would defy physics and go down a tube, you know?
no, for the longest time, people couldn't understand how such an oversight could have been made in the design of this death weapon.
I hope that was the main motivation for making this movie, was literally like to shut up all the people that talk shit on how the Death Star could be destroyed. Just like, fuck you. Fine. You want us to come up with an explanation? Here's our explanation.
But I think it did it very well, and I think it did it very tastefully and in a manner that made sense.
As far as how I would rank it among the Star Wars films, I highly enjoyed this movie. I do have some gripes about it a little bit that we can kind of get to in a few minutes here. But as far as how I'd rank it, clearly it goes after 4, 5, and 6. For me, it goes Empire, A New Hope, and then Return of the Jedi to start out. And then, unfortunately, and some people think I'm a little controversial on this, Force Awakens was the first Star Wars movie I ever got to see in theaters. The prequels I did not see in theaters. And they all sucked anyway. So I really have a big connection with that. So I have to put The Force Awakens in front of Rogue One. But I feel like that could change on multiple viewings of Rogue One. I've only seen Rogue One once so far. So I feel like it's in the middle of the pack as far as Star Wars movies are concerned. But anything that's not included with the prequels, anything that's not 1, 2, or 3 is pretty much a good to great film in my book.
So you basically just put it ahead of the prequels, which isn't really saying a whole lot.
But I'm not saying that. I'm saying those, except for Empire and A New Hope, all those other ones are interchangeable, just depending on how I'm feeling on any given day. But the only reason I put Force Awakens above Rogue One is simply just because I had more of a connection with Force Awakens, and because, like I said, I enjoyed the theater experience of it. I know it's a little bit of a rehash of old stories and, just with new characters. But there was something about Force Awakens I just really connected with, and I kind of felt like those people did in 1977 when they went to see the original Star Wars in theaters. That's kind of how I felt when I went to see it. I just kind of had an amazing theater experience with it, so that's just why I would put it above this. But Rogue One, I really enjoyed it, and like I said, anything from Rogue One up on that list, I consider a good to great film.
But to me, when we saw it, you did mention that you didn't enjoy it as much as you felt you could.
You're right. That's another reason why I feel like it's not as high up on the list.
Why don't we get to that?
Well,
rather than sitting here and all of us just raving about
people
how
keep
we
giving
liked
me people, aka Steven, keep giving me flack on this, and I felt like a lot of the characters. All right, maybe not a lot of characters. I felt like some of the characters weren't really written or given as much story or, I guess, depth as I would have liked. There were parts of, like Saw Gerrera, I would have loved to have gotten more out of him, and I didn't feel like I really knew why he was as important to the story as he was. Now, I felt like he was important, but I felt like I didn't know exactly why, other than the fact that he was basically Jin's father for however long, once his father got taken by the Empire and his mother was killed and all that stuff.
Her mother, excuse me. Sorry.
Her father. Yes. So I felt like I would have wanted a little more out of that. I felt like the side characters, I think Riz Ahmed, I believe is his name. Matt, you're probably better on his name than I would be.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, his character was great. But again, I would have liked, I don't know, I just would have liked a little bit more background on some of these characters. I just felt like, and I'll agree to an extent that, yeah, maybe because they all end up dying in this movie, and the only thing you're really supposed to know about them is that they were just kind of this ragtag group of people that got together to try to get the Death Star plans to the Rebel Alliance.
I feel like you got more than enough story from these characters.
I don't feel that way.
For example, the pilot who defected, he was sent by Jin's father to inform them of this because he was forced to come back to build the Death Star.
I get why he was sent.
It's not like you need to know like where he grew up and.
I don't. Okay, that's not what I'm asking for. It's not what I'm asking.
What more would you want to see out of that?
What was his motivation to turn on the Empire? What was his motivation to say, "Okay, I'll do this for you"? What was Jin's motivation to go searching out for her father and stuff, where she knew where her father was and everything? I felt like there were points where like they could have done a little bit more explanation in that and given us some more.
She didn't know where her father was. She thought her father was dead.
That's what. Okay. Okay. My point is,
And then they said that they had reason to, or they knew where he was.
that's not what I was trying to say. But basically my point is I felt like these characters didn't have a ton of depth to them as much as I would have liked, and I would have liked some more reasons to have an emotional connection to them. When these guys were being killed on the beach and stuff, I was like, oh, that's sad, but at the same time I was like, oh, okay, what happens next? I didn't feel like, wow, that was a really important moment that, like, I feel like I'm really emotionally connected to. I felt like, okay, well, they did their job. It's over. Okay. I didn't feel like I had any reason to care that these characters were dying. And I felt like some of the characters that were the best in the movie, Jin's father, whose name escapes me at the moment, I apologize, and Saw Gerrera and a few others, I felt like didn't get as much screen time as they should have, and were some of the strongest characters in the movie, acting and just kind of the way that they were portrayed and everything, and I felt like they could have been used a little bit more in the movie. That's pretty much my main gripe. The plot and everything else I'm okay with. There was just parts of the characters I would have wanted more from. And I understand that, yes, you only get one film out of these characters because they're there, they do what they need to do, and they die. There's not supposed to be carry on from it. And the whole Cassian Jin thing, I don't know. There was just parts I just didn't feel like were necessarily, I guess, organic in the way that they happened. I felt like things just kind of felt forced at a point. So that's just me, though. That's just how I felt.
So, Matt, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like there was enough story to the characters to be emotionally invested?
I mean, obviously, I don't agree since I thought it was my favorite Star Wars movie.
So you feel you got enough information on these characters to be completely content with what you got out of this film?
I don't think I needed to know any more about them.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I feel like I got enough backstory from Jin and her family to understand that whole dynamic and why she felt the need to go on this mission once it was presented to her. I felt enough was given to me to understand that Jin's father was a big deal and why he was being basically forced back to finish building the Death Star. I don't feel like I needed to get any more out of the team of people that helped storm the Empire's base, because Jeddah is known for being basically the birthplace of the Jedi, and there were enough nods to that. And if you know your Star Wars lore, as you probably do going to see this film, you should know that, and you should know that these characters are trying to protect what's left of a Jedi temple. So they have reason to, want to be part of the Force, as you could tell. There's one point that Dan makes, though, that I do kind of agree with. The pilot that was sent that defected, I would have liked to see a little bit more as to what made him want to defect. I feel like that's the one thing that kind of left me like, okay, so why all of a sudden does he have this change of heart? And I don't know, maybe I missed something in the film that kind of pointed that out somewhat. Matt, can you think of anything that happened in the film that put context into that, or?
Not really. I think I just got the impression that he thought it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
See,
that might just be it.
And that's kind of my thing. Like, I understand, like, yeah, maybe he thought it was the right thing to do, but why?
I think telling you anything more about that character would be entirely too much exposition. Like,
Probably.
Just read between the lines.
Probably.
I'll agree to disagree here. I don't know. It's all opinion. It depends on what you're looking to get out of a movie. Sometimes I want to have more of an emotional connection to some of the characters. Some of the characters I felt like I should have an emotional connection with, and I just didn't. And I understand and you guys are making this counter argument, and I can see the counter argument of where you don't want to get people too emotionally connected to these characters because there's a shelf life on them. You're not going to get them again.
I didn't say that.
I think they got you emotionally connected to the characters they wanted you to be. The two main characters, that's who they wanted you to be connected to, and that's who you were connected to.
I got more emotionally connected to K2SO than any other character in that film, to be honest with you.
I felt more emotional connection to the pilot than I did the more major characters, if I'm being honest with you.
But you're arguing that you don't even know what his motivation was for being there, so how could you be connected to him?
Just simply because of like what he was doing when he was when they were at the Empire's base and everything, and like the stuff that he was doing on like just that scene.
So I'd argue if you're more emotionally connected to him, you did get enough out of it. You just want to see more of that character.
I didn't say I was as emotionally connected with him as I wanted to be. I'm saying I was the most connected with him. That's not saying that I had like the most connection I wanted and that I felt like I got everything I wanted out of the character. And I also have another hot take that you might not agree with. Well, first off, I want to say that the Darth Vader scene at the end is the most badass we've ever seen Darth Vader, and I thought that was one of the best Darth Vader scenes we've gotten in any film ever, where he was just badass, just taking those guys out left and right, not giving a fuck. And some people have brought up, it's like, in the beginning of New Hope, where he's not just walking through corridors, like killing people with his saber and everything. Why was it kind of different here? And you bring up the idea of he was that desperate to keep those plans from getting out. But once he knew that, the plans had already been transmitted, he wasn't going to just go and whatever. But I thought that was the most badass Darth Vader scene we've ever gotten. But the pun scene, I felt like it was
Why did you have any problems with that?
I felt like it was just thrown in there just for, let's give a giggle. It didn't feel like Darth Vader to me. It's never how Darth Vader's ever felt to me in any other film, and it just felt really thrown in there for the hell of it. It did not feel like it fit in with Darth Vader's character to me at all. And that was the only part of that movie I didn't like what Darth Vader was doing. And
so when he's force choking him and he tells him not to choke on his own ambition,
yes,
you felt like that was forced comedy?
Yes. I felt like it was thrown in there just to be like, oh, haha, that was fun.
I think that was more of a way of Vader putting him in his place.
But that's never how Vader has been. Vader's never made these cheesy puns while he's force choking somebody or anything like that.
I don't think when they made the original movies, they had a picture that Hayden Christensen was going to play him in prequels. So I think now they have foresight of that they had a snarky actor play him before he became Vader.
I don't know. I felt like
we've also never seen Vader in a situation where it's just him and one other person that's truthfully in a position where he could do something of that nature.
But nothing he did in A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, anything. I'm not counting the prequels, mind you, because you don't really get Darth Vader in that. You just get like Anakin's changeover. I'm including anything from the original trilogy. We've never seen Darth Vader act like that. We never even really had hints that he would act like that. It just felt kind of out of left field.
Except when they're having that meeting and he just randomly force chokes a motherfucker.
But he doesn't throw a witty pun at him when he's done doing it.
That's why it felt authentic to me, because we've seen him do it before. Just he doesn't throw a one-liner at you.
That's what I'm saying. Choking the guy and like showing his dominance over him and how small that this guy was in comparison to him was awesome. The little witty pun, I felt like was just thrown in there to like, haha, we gotta laugh. Like,
it didn't particularly bother me. But
it didn't bother me either.
I just thought it was a badass scene with a really good actor and Darth Vader.
It doesn't take away from the film for me. I've seen a lot of people saying how much they thought it was great. I thought it was really out of character for him. It's just me. I don't know. It's just little things I would have kept on. I would have cut out of the movie. It's just me.
I think that it shows it's a characterization point where he's still a little bit impetuous, where he becomes more disciplined in who he is before you get to A New Hope.
But he's not like that in the rest of the movie, though, is what I'm trying to explain.
Okay, then let me ask you this question. How would you
But then he doesn't really have any lines in the rest of the movie.
Then how would you have changed that scene?
I would have just taken out the pun.
So you would have literally just had him force choke him, drop him, and walk off?
No, you can obviously have him say something, but it doesn't have to be some witty-ass fucking pun, is what I'm trying to say.
What else would be said?
I don't know.
I don't think it really creates the same impact without having that line be the line that it was.
I think it does if he says something badass as opposed to something fucking like,
what's something badass
don't choke
he
on
could have said?
I don't fucking know. I'm not writing the movie.
Be sure not to choke on your ambition, as he's literally standing there practically spitting in the face of Darth Vader.
Okay, I didn't think it was badass. I thought it was thrown in there for a giggle. That's what I'm saying. Am I not allowed to have an opinion on it?
He's standing there practically spitting in the face and exerting what he feels is dominance over Vader, and Vader tells him to basically go fuck himself.
Okay, and other people haven't done that before at the round table in A New Hope, where he's like,
you know what, we're tired. Sequentially, that happens after this.
Okay, but my point is,
like years after this, that happened.
This is technically the first appearance of Darth Vader chronologically.
New Hope happens years after this movie. You're assuming that he can't learn anything and become a better, stronger version of himself before.
Actually, I wouldn't say that A New Hope takes place that much longer after this film.
I still get the impression it takes place at least 5 years after this.
I don't get that at all. But we'll come back to that in a second.
I think it really starts directly after this.
No, not directly, but I think it's not.
Wait, what starts
not
directly
years.
after this? What starts directly after this?
A New Hope.
A New Hope is literally like the last scene where Carrie Fisher's on the ship.
No, that's not the same. That's not
It
the
is.
same
It's not
ship.
the same scene.
It is
Not the same scene.
A New Hope starts with Vader boarding.
Guys, it's legitimately like meant to be that's that, and then like minutes later, this is Darth Vader getting on that ship, capturing that, all that stuff. That's literally why they put that scene in.
It doesn't happen directly after that. I don't think that's what they were trying to imply.
That's exactly what they're trying to imply. Watch the two movies back to back.
I don't agree with that at all.
I don't think it's instantaneous, but I don't think it's 5 years. I think it's. I don't want to put.
It's probably like minutes.
No, it's probably like a couple days or hours.
No, there's no way. There's no way they sat.
I don't think
way
it's instantaneous.
There's no way they sat on those plans and let them just be there like no big deal when they knew that it was literally handed through a crack in the door.
But you're also saying they just sat there and just waited for Vader to come board the ship then, or directly after it happened. They didn't just try to jump into hyperspace right away.
That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is that it was
But it is what you
minutes
just said.
after. Never mind. Moving on to the next topic.
I feel like we've gone really off the rails with talking about this. So I don't know how to bring it back around.
Just I guess overall thoughts on the movie. And you guys, I want you guys to know I didn't hate this movie. I didn't come anywhere close to hating this movie. I really highly enjoyed this movie. There were just a few things I would have liked more in this movie that I felt like they could have done more of. Maybe there are some things in deleted scenes that got left on the cutting room floor because obviously, as we've seen, the entire first trailer was essentially not in the movie from what we've already looked at and discussed and people on the internet have already dissected. So maybe there were some scenes left on the cutting room floor, whether that was from reshoots or just editing.
There were scenes that were completely CGI'd that didn't need to be done if they were going to be left on the cutting room floor that were put into those trailers. There were scenes put into those trailers and dialogue that was changed to mislead you into this film.
And you're probably right, but I'm saying like with the reshoots and whatever else, I'm wondering if maybe there were just scenes that they took out that they thought originally they wanted that they didn't put in that maybe would have helped me get a little bit more of what I wanted out of this movie in terms of character development or backstory or whatever. Who knows? I guess I'll have to wait for the DVD or the Blu-ray to come out and go from there. That's just, that's the thing. And it's just, I'm not, and like I said, I really enjoyed the movie. I had a great time watching it in the theaters. The minus the 2 minutes of sleep because it was late and I was tired. But no, I highly enjoyed the movie. Just how I felt about it.
Okay, Matt, what about your overall opinion of the film?
I mean, it hasn't changed. It's still the same as it was. It's my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah, that's your final thoughts?
Yeah, same as my original thoughts.
What were your thoughts on the Peter Cushing, Carrie Fisher, like CGI stuff?
Didn't bother me.
I mean, it didn't bother me either, but do you feel like it was well done? Do you feel like you could tell that there were parts where it was like obviously you knew Peter
I could
Cushing
tell from the beginning that it was CGI. It didn't look shaded well at all.
Well, I mean, I didn't really think that hard about it. They looked a little out of place, but I mean, I also know that Peter Cushing's dead.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And I knew that Carrie Fisher didn't film anything for the movie, so I knew that it wasn't them. So aside from that, they did look out of place in the screen.
I have no qualms with it. I have no objections to it or anything. I'm just saying that when I first saw it, I wasn't like, oh, wow, that looks exactly like, said actor or actress. I was like, oh, that feels kind of video game cutscene-y, but then it was something that I allowed myself to suspend, the suspension of disbelief or whatever the hell it is, and I was okay with it. I just felt like I've seen that done in other films better, that it felt a little cartoony to me to begin with, but I got over it. But overall, I enjoyed the film. Like you said, Matt, I feel like we got enough story from these characters for this to be a one and done, because obviously we're not going to get, a second Rogue One because everyone dies. Spoiler. But it was just enough to fill the gap between the prequels and the original trilogy. I do want to say I enjoyed the subtle nods to the prequels. They were very tastefully done. They weren't overdone. And this movie left me hoping that the prequels would have been done by Disney, because to me, this was a better prequel film than the three prequels. So I'm definitely putting it up there. Not as my favorite, but as one of my favorites. But I'm not going to give it a ranking. I don't tend to do that because it all depends on how I'm feeling at the time I go to watch something, how I feel about it. But yeah, I guess overall we enjoyed the film. So we'll end the discussion on Rogue One there. And I guess this is the part where we get to letting everyone know what's to come from the Deep Six podcast in the new year. Obviously, like we stated earlier, we've got the Deep Sports podcast, which you can listen for every other week. What, are we going to keep it on the same day that we normally release things, Matt?
I think that makes sense.
Okay, so then that brings me to my second point here, that it looks like we're going to be changing the release day for the Deep Six podcast. I think we're looking right now at either Saturday or Sunday, and I don't know if that's going to start with the next episode or if that's going to happen a little later on, but we are looking at a weekend release compared to a Friday release just because it's going to be more accessible to people to listen to it on a weekend rather than on a Friday morning or whenever it winds up going up. But yeah, like I said, you can look forward to more of that and probably more exciting things to come from the Deep Six podcast in the new year. We are going to try to do a lot more live stuff, a lot more interactive things. And if you have any suggestions for anything you'd like to see come from the Deep Six podcast, please let us know. Of course, you can email us, deep6podcast@gmail.com. You can send us a message or a comment on Facebook. You can tweet at us at Deep Six Podcast. You can comment on an Instagram post, of course, once again, at Deep Six Podcast. Or you can contact us through our website, deep6podcast.com. What else? Can you guys think of anything else that I should let them know about stuff to come in the new year for our show?
Not offhand, no.
And of course, all news for the Deep Six podcast, like I said, you can find on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or our website, deep6podcast.com, where you can find links to all of those social media accounts. I guess this comes to the point where we're going to sign off then, if you guys don't have anything else to add to today's show.
It's been an interesting 6 months. Obviously, we've had some trial and errors with some things, and we're not the best podcast hosts of all time. But we're making it work.
Sometimes we get a little carried away and argumentative, but
we're making it work.
I think that's part of what makes us us.
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 As opposed to ISIS.
Anyway, moving on.
But yeah, thanks for sticking with us over the last 6 months. Hopefully, as 2017 rolls around, we can continue this little adventure of ours and provide you with some good hashtag content. Just thanks for sticking with us. If you shared the podcast, listened to the podcast, commented on the podcast, reviewed the podcast, or even talked to any of us about the podcast, even if it's not on any of our official social medias, thank you. And please continue to do so. Your support helps us get better, helps us grow, helps us become a worldwide phenomenon.
Matt, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, I think that was all appropriate.
All right, guys. Well, of course, follow us on social media. Like I said, deep6podcast.com. You can find all the links there. You can also find all the links to subscribe to the show through the likes of iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean over there. Please subscribe, please rate, please review. We take your feedback seriously here, and we could really use it to help improve the show. And also, if you don't mind, hit that share button if you're listening to us on Facebook. Retweet us if you're listening to us through Twitter. Whatever you can do to share the show, we would truly appreciate it. Come back in 2 weeks. It might be on a Friday, it might be on a Saturday, it might be on a Sunday, but sometime around the next 2 weeks, you'll hear from us again here on the Deep Six Podcast. So until then, this is Steve signing off for Matt and Dan. We'll see you next time.